Tonight, one more COVID-19 related death and 30 new cases recorded, taking the total of COVID-19 related deaths to 215 and total cases to 9,326. The Minister of Health and Wellness toured Raytown in Kingston earlier today and says all samples already tested have returned negative.
The virus, based on the sampling of cases, is not as bad as we may have anticipated. It therefore is likely to lead on Friday to a discontinuation of the measures.
Still tonight, Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna sign a pre-election code of conduct ahead of the PNP's internal presidential election set for Saturday, November 7th.
A document which has been developed by some senior members of the party, what I'd call elder statesmen, which is a declaration by both of them in terms of the conduct of themselves and the teams abiding by the code of conduct, the party's constitution, etc.
And the office of the DPP and the JCF launched the Digital Policing Criminal Investigation in the Technological Era training video.
It is a win-win for us as well as the public when you have the investigators with their skill set being enhanced and their toolkit being enlarged.
Good evening. Jamaica recorded one more COVID-19 related death and 30 new cases. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the deceased is a 66-year-old male of a Trelawney address. Now, his death increases the total of COVID-19 fatalities in Jamaica to 215. The newly confirmed COVID-19 cases takes the total of infections on record to 9,326. Recoveries increased by 38, taking the total of recoveries to 4,704. Now, of the newly confirmed cases, 17 are males and 13 are females, ranging in age from 14 to 71 years. The cases were recorded in St. James with 11, Kingston and St. Andrew 4. St. Catherine, Trelawney, Portland, and St. Mary recorded 3 cases each, while Westmoreland, St. Anne, and Manchester recorded 1 case each. There are 11 moderately ill and 6 critically ill patients among the 4,288 active cases now under observation in Jamaica. Still making news tonight, the Minister of Health and Wellness, who toured the Raytown community earlier today, says all samples already tested have returned negative results. More on this story with Colleen May.
Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tofton and the health team toured the special curfew area of Raytown in Kingston earlier today to observe the surveillance activity on the ground and conduct health education for residents. Dr. Tofton, in speaking with our news team, said that of the 120 samples so far in the Raytown community, all came back negative.
Apart from the 21 positives that we have had, we have done, I'm told, 120 sampling. We have been hampered by the rain,
Yes.
right across the board, across the country. Same thing in St. James. So the rain has affected us, but to the extent that they have been able to, they have done 120 samples, and I'm happy to report that all are negative. So what it tells us is that the intervention, though necessary at the time because we had 21 cases that we're dealing with, has demonstrated that the virus, based on the sampling of cases, is not as bad as we may have anticipated. It therefore is likely to lead on Friday to a discontinuation of the measures, and that's what we have to do. Whenever we have a challenge, we intervene, and whenever we think it's time to pull back, go elsewhere, we go. But in all of it though, it's worth it because, one, you assess the risk and ensure that the risk is not as great as it appears, or you cauterize the risk if the risk is great. And secondly, and perhaps more importantly, you provide an opportunity to go in and to engage in the public education. So the brochure, the mask wearing, to reinforce the message around the COVID response.
Mrs. Charmaine Vassell-Shettlewood, Senior Public Health Nurse at the Kingston and the St. Andrew Health Department, says that she is happy with the results so far from the intervention and the testing.
So far we started just prior to the Zozo because we had some positive cases. So we started the intervention and we have been in Raytown for a total of 7 days. On average, we do 1,000 plus interventions, that is fever assessment, respiratory assessment, and based on that we do swabbing. Well, so far, as Minister Tufton has explained, we have done over 120 odd swabbing and all came back negative. So we are saying we are really happy for that.
Acting Senior Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Suan Strawn Johnson, explained that key persons were also trained in the community to help with the public education.
Been working along with the community, sampling. We've also been doing our health education. We've trained key informants in the community so that they can go out and spread the message to other persons. And so we will continue working with them to just make sure that we keep the cases down.
Donovan Williams, Central Kingston Member of Parliament, says he's appreciative of the work the Ministry of Health and Wellness, along with the health team, have been doing in the community to stop the spread of COVID-19.
We really appreciate the effort of the Ministry of Health and the officials and practitioners so far. And the good news is that a number of testings have been carried out and they have returned negative. That is very good news. However, I would implore the residents not to be complacent. We still need to observe all and adhere to all the protocols so that we can keep the positive rate down. So I just want to say thank you to all the officials, all the workers who have been doing a marvelous job. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for your quick and timely intervention.
Thank you.
Reporting for Mello TV News, I am Kayleen May.
In the meantime, a total of 236 residential facilities have been inspected by the Ministry of Health and Wellness to assess their adherence to measures aimed at mitigating the risk of an outbreak of COVID-19. Now, these facilities include 203 nursing homes, 13 infirmaries, 14 children's homes, and 6 rehabilitation institutions. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton said, and I quote, "Of that number, 99 nursing homes, 48.8%, were found to be compliant with the COVID-19 protocols. The same obtained for 7 of the infirmaries, 4 children's homes, and 2 of the rehabilitation institutions," end quote. Now, Dr. Tufton said for breaches under the nuisance regulations, 2 privately run nursing homes in Manchester and Clarendon had to be ordered closed. Dr. Tufton also outlined that in the case of prisons and lockups, 43 of the 106 in the country have been inspected so far, with 12 meeting the COVID-19 standards, while the other 31 have been given a timeline within which to become compliant. The minister further informed that the ministry has developed a protocol specifically for environmental considerations for nursing homes and residential facilities, as well as a checklist for nursing homes and healthcare institutions, and a self-assessment tool for public facilities and workplaces. He added that failure to comply to same will see prosecutions under the Public Health Act or the Disaster Risk Management Orders, which may result in fines of up to $1 million. In other news tonight, ahead of the People's National Party's internal presidential election set for Saturday, November 7, candidates Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna earlier today signed a pre-election code of conduct. General Secretary of the People's National Party, PNP, Julian Robinson, expressed that this latest code of conduct signed was developed by senior members of the party.
A document which has been developed by some senior members of the party, what I'd call elder statesmen, which is a declaration by both of them in terms of the conduct of themselves and the teams abiding by the code of conduct, the party's constitution, etc. So there is a code of conduct which they signed, which is still in force and which the monitoring committee is ensuring is implemented. A document which has been developed by some senior members of the party, what I'd call elder statesmen, which is a declaration by both of them in terms of the conduct of themselves and the teams abiding by the code of conduct, the party's constitution, etc. So there is a code of conduct which they signed, which is still in force and which the monitoring committee is ensuring is implemented.
Now, Mr. Golding, while addressing the media, says he is ready for Saturday and explained that persons associated with the party should be mindful of how they conduct themselves.
You know, we've worked together for many years, and whatever happens on Saturday, we will continue to work together in the best interest of the party. We've always enjoyed a very good relationship, known each other a long time, and we're close friends. So I look forward to working with Lisa, whatever happens on Saturday. I'm very satisfied with the way the campaign has been going, the way the team has been performing, the response we've had on the ground and nationally as well to the campaign. Very positive. We're looking forward to Saturday. And generally speaking, going forward, we have to build a culture of respect for each other in how we discuss issues, and also a respect for the need for discipline in how we present ourselves to the outside world, so to speak, the wider public. And that is something I think we need to work on assiduously going forward.
Now, Ms. Hannah, who echoed the same sentiments, explained that the rhetoric of social mismessaging and attacks is very harmful to both her and Mr. Golding.
And I said that at the Code of Conduct, and I'm reiterating that today. I am as ready as I need to be for Saturday. And I'm pleased with my campaign team. We've done the groundwork, and I'm looking forward to Saturday. We're dealing with supporters that may be a little bit more vibrant than necessary. This is my fourth internal presidential election, and this time I'm actually a candidate in it. And I've seen over each presidential election, especially with the advent of social media and other internal elections, how vitriolic persons can get. Some of them might not even be supporters of either side. I've been at the end of it, certainly in this election. It's not easy for my family to look at some of the things that are written. I'm sure it's not easy for some of Mark's family to look at it. And I believe children are off limits in a campaign. And I want to say that very, very stridently.
Ms. Hannah suggested that known members that participate in these hurtful acts should be sanctioned by the party.
Going forward, there has to be sanctions, especially for members who you can identify, who willingly go into the media and decide to discredit any candidate without proof, and willingly do it on platforms, willingly do it whether it is in the media, on platforms, in social media, and otherwise. And we have to learn as adults, as collective members of a movement, working to build a mission for this country, that the best thing that we can do is to bring love to a situation. I've been in this politics a long time. Others have been in it longer than me. And we're watching the erosion of a country's value system in other areas. And I think as leaders, we have to set the example. And I believe that this particular movement, we would be doing a disservice to our leaders before if both Mark and myself, and I say Mark and myself, because right now we're the preeminent leaders that the country is seeing, if we don't deal with it.
Still making news tonight, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang addressed the recent rise in gang-related shootings.
Extensive gang war proceeding in St. Catherine between different factions of the Klansman gang. There's the two major factions, the Black Man Tesha Miller grouping, and I gather since Tesha Miller got his conviction, there's a split in there in his camp, along with other supporting gangs in the region which are allying with different factions. So the tension between gangs in St. Catherine is high, but police is aware. They have done much work on intelligence, and they are working on not only intercepting and preventing killings, but in apprehending a number of the players out there. And we expect that there will be results pretty soon. And we should have some increased stability, but work has to go on. We have pretty nice 60 members of the Klansman Guard have been removed from the space, some 50 plus of them in jail, in addition to Black Man and Tesha for the conviction. But it's a big gang, and there's still a significant number of them out there active, along with some business that they have control of that keeps the gang alive. And the police will continue working to dismantle the gang, and I'm confident they'll have it done in the order. But as you progress and they quarrel, they have guns and they kill each other.
Dr. Chang used the opportunity to explain that the SOE program is being refined and that the public can rest assured that although the scourge of gang violence will not be solved quickly, it will definitely not be allowed to take root.
The SOE allows you to use intelligence to detain a number of people who will carry out violence and killing. That's the benefit of the SOE. So you can reduce your the murder rate, essentially, very quickly. The other activities, you have to keep them going to reduce in a sustainable manner, which requires the zones of special operations. It requires increased intelligence, increased operation, and special operations to apprehend and convict the members of the gang. Gang conviction, investigation to effect conviction is a tedious process and time-consuming process. And during that time, gang members do hurt each other. We're going to disrupt Klansmen, and not only Klansmen, but all of the gangs that are operating in that space. It is noticeable that between St. Catherine North and the Crescent downtown, the corporate area, which ranges from St. Andrews South to East Kingston, has been the center of most of our gang activity. But the work goes on. The police is doing very good work now, and I can assure the country we'll bring them under control. The SO will make it faster, but at the rate we're going to get them down. Still going to get them down, even if the pace of reduction will be a little bit slower without the SOE.
In other news tonight, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, launched the Digital Policing Criminal Investigation in the Technological Era training video earlier today. Ms. Paula Llewellyn, Director of Public Prosecutions, outlined the significance of computer material in proving the commission of crimes and assisting in the identification of perpetrators of crimes.
Certainly we understand at the Office of the DPP the challenges that law enforcement will face from time to time in terms of the gathering of evidence. It is important, very important, that law enforcement is constantly reminded, their skill set is enhanced to pivot and to change in the same way that the criminals, whether locally or foreign, as they engage in transnational crimes, are able to pivot. And we, as prosecutors and law enforcement, we have to keep more than one step ahead of them. We have to be able to use the technology, use the particular orders that can be obtained under the Cybercrimes Act in order to make sure that you are put in the best position to harness and gather all the evidence, which will make our job as prosecutors easier, because the prosecution comprises law enforcement and the prosecutors. It matters not to the court whether law enforcement fell down in their job or whether the prosecutor fell down in their job. We are the prosecution. Therefore, it is a win-win for us as well as the public when you have the investigators with their skill set being enhanced and their toolkit being enlarged.
Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson outlined that this launch aligns with the policing strategies of the force.
It's very appropriate that we're actually launching this digital policing, criminal investigation in a technological era theme. This whole launch is consistent with really the three pillars of our policing strategy. The first one being how we approach law enforcement, where the use of science and technology in investigations is a matter of course. It's no longer the exception but the rule of investigation that we look to exploit the technologies that are out there that provide evidence in these cases. It's really the combination, and if we look at some of the more recent cases that we've managed to solve, it's really the combination of everything from video evidence to cyber evidence, from devices to ballistics to DNA, all combined with the traditional witness statements and all of that. But that science provides a bedrock and around which the investigation and later on the prosecution can hold on to, even as witnesses fade or no longer are interested, or, you know, for whatever reason, that part now is there, still important, but that science provides the surety that we can continue cases even as things become more challenging, especially as the case progresses. And the longer it drags out, of course, it's the science that remains that reliable, that strong part of the case. So it is consistent with how we're looking at policing and investigations now. And as the world moves and increases in terms of the Internet of Things, that will become even more so.
Major General Anderson further expressed that digital policing is vital to the continued transformation of the police force.
The other aspect of our pillar of policing that this relates to is our own transformation as a police force, particularly with our people, where training and development of our people is a key component of everything we do. Our persons nowadays, our police officers, have to be familiar with the technology that is out there and how important it is to make this a part of building our cases. That from the scene they can access databases from wherever they are to be able to get a better sense of what is happening and what is going on. Both our local stakeholders and our foreign stakeholders coming together to make sure that we have a safer Jamaica, that our people can do all the things we need to do in a safer, more secure environment, knowing that we have a science, technologically based, modern criminal justice system of which we are a part.
Now, the Director of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement at the United States Embassy, Ms. Linissa Waheed, commended the Director of Public Prosecutions for launching such a vital tool.
This is an exemplary training resource, which is relevant for the entire JCF, not just the Cybercrime Division, as well as other agencies here in Jamaica. Due to the pervasiveness of technology in modern society, most criminal investigations involve digital devices ranging from smartphones to CCTV camera systems. Therefore, it is critical that the police are able to preserve all necessary digital data for the court's consideration at trial. As Madam DPP often reminds us, successful prosecutions are built on the foundations of sound police investigations. I commend the collaborative approach taken by the DPP's office and the JCF to bring this initiative to fruition. I also want to extend a very special commendation to the Cybercrimes Unit of the DPP's office. The hard work and ingenuity you displayed in taking this project from concept to the finished product is remarkable, and I can honestly say I was amazed by the video.
In news from the capital, over $100 million has been raised in the corporate area to purchase tablets for students. More on this story with Tamara McHale.
Minister of Education, Youth and Information Favour Williams says that the government has raised over $100 million from corporate Jamaica to purchase tablets for students.
We did a launch of the One Laptop or Tablet Per Child initiative, in which we've made a broad appeal to corporate Jamaica, to individuals, to the diaspora, to our international partners to come on board and help us, help in much the same way that the government, through the budgets, is putting out. We're asking all of Jamaica to come on board and help us. And we were pretty pleased yesterday, extremely pleased. Our corporate entities came on. And when I tallied at the end of the launch, in terms of pledges, whether it be in cash or kind, it was over $100 million that we were able to, to get from corporate entities. And it is the way it's been done. It was launched on the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange, which means that the stock exchange has a portal through which donations can be made. So if you're an individual or a company, you go to the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange website, you'll see it there. You'll be able to use your credit card, use transfers from your account, and make the donation. And you could designate the school of your choice, the class of your choice, the student of your choice. And it's a very transparent way to deal with donations that come into the system.
Minister Williams, who was speaking at a recent handing over ceremony of tablets to students in Kingston, also explained that face-to-face coupled with the use of technology enhances the learning process.
But we also know that school, physical school, the face-to-face learning experience is extremely important for our kids as well. So we're not here saying education is going to be only delivered online. Far from it. We'd like to see the coupling of technology and the face-to-face learning experience, because physical schools help children to socially interact with each other, to build character, to know what their interest is in terms of extracurricular activities and even the subject area. With regards to reopening of some schools for the face-to-face, we indicated 17 schools located in the parishes that we named. For a 2-week period, we're going to look at the experience that these schools are having to see if there are variables that we need to consider that we didn't, and so forth and so on. We are in a pandemic. We're not in normal times. We have to tread cautiously because we don't want the same experience that we're seeing in the rest of the world, where they open up schools and within a 2-week period, they got to pull everybody back again. We should learn from other people's experience, and I think that is what we're doing.
Chief Executive Officer of eLearning Jamaica Company Limited, Keith Smith, urges students and parents to ensure they take care of the devices.
As the students receive these tablets, I encourage them. They're expensive devices. They're approximately $165 each. We've already started to get 1 or 2 damage reports. I was indicating to Minister earlier today that we've gotten about 3 or 4 damage reports so far. We're asking, so we're going to start putting out some keep on care messages. We're going to encourage the parents and the students to care these as their own devices, because they used to be toys 2 years ago. Now they're essential items for education and teaching and learning. So you have to care them, because for many instances, for many of us and our children, it is the only way that you're going to be able to access education. We have put in our service assurance help desk, customer support. So if there's a problem with the use of a tablet, there's a problem with understanding what to do, you can reach out to the eLearning's help desk. We're also in the process of acquiring what we call a mobile device management system, which will allow us to manage your tablets remotely with you and deal with customer service issues, support issues, and also ensure that the tablets that the government is providing for education are really being used for education and avoid looking at some of the sites and things that students need to look at.
Dr. Angela Brownberg, Shadow Minister of Education and Training, asked that the government look at smaller school populations in Kingston that can be accommodated in addition to the online school forum.
I know that Kingston is a kind of a hotspot where COVID is concerned, and I know that that is one of the factors that we look at when we think of opening schools. But given the population of some of our schools, very small schools, as you would know, many of whom the students actually walk to school, they don't take bus to school. I want us to look at how we make sure that some of these schools, where we know many of the parents are unable to assist, even having given the tablet, in terms of the connectivity and the infrastructure in the area, it still is a problem. So we want to have you look at the cases specifically to see how we accommodate them. The only thing a small state like us can depend on to kind of leapfrog and make our mark is really through technology and how we use it and how we integrate it. And since we know that education is what prepares our people for tomorrow, then education with technology is really one of the most important things that we could look at in terms of just making that change in Jamaica and for us here in our communities and in our students.
For Mello TV News, I am Tamara McHale.
Continuing with the news tonight, the Ministry of Education, in a statement released today, outlined that during consultation with board chairs and principals regarding the pilot program for the phased resumption of face-to-face teaching, the leadership of 14 of the 17 schools initially selected agreed that all can be in place for the commencement of the pilot on November 9 of this year. However, administrators of the Troy High School, Albert Town High School, and Tranquility Primary and Infant School that were initially selected to be part of the pilot project opted not to participate. The final list of schools includes Yallis High School in St. Thomas, Steertown Primary and Junior High School in St. Anne, Somerton All-Age and Infant School in St. James, and Newcomb Valley Primary School in St. Elizabeth. In other news tonight, the government has allocated $120 million in production incentives for fish farmers. Now it is estimated that the fisheries sector could lose up to $23.1 million in 2020 due to the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green, who made the disclosure during yesterday's sitting of the House of Representatives, said that approximately 4,740 licensed fish farmers across 137 fishing communities will benefit from grants in the form of vouchers for a total value of $67 million. Now, each fish farmer will be provided a voucher valued at $15,000 to be used to purchase fish, mesh wire, or equivalent fishing gear. Approximately $30 million of the grant will be distributed through members of Parliament, MPs, to fishing communities in their constituencies. Minister Green outlined that each MP will be allocated between a minimum of $510,000 up to a maximum of $1.5 million, depending on the number of registered fishermen in the constituency. Another $37 million will be distributed through the National Fisheries Authority, NFA, under the Fisheries Incentive Program, which will similarly distribute vouchers valued at $15,000 to registered fish farmers through the NFA offices island-wide. And those are the stories making news. I'll return with a recap. We'll now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.
Coronavirus is in Jamaica, and I know you feel scared and worried. But you can't let COVID-19 divide us.
Coronavirus infects all kinds of people. It doesn't discriminate. So why should you? When someone coughs or sneezes or shows signs of the virus, tell them to call 888-1-LOVE immediately. And remember, stay 3 feet away, but don't attack or disrespect them, because we're all in this thing together. Come on, Jamaica, cut the hate and don't discriminate. Let us stand together and fight COVID-19 as one family, one nation.